knowing what to do in World of Tanks games can be one of the things that holds you back, and of course it's the difference between the greatest players within World of Tanks and of course players that end up not necessarily carrying the games. But in today's video we have a replay where I managed to pick up quite a bit of damage, but it's not necessarily about the damage, but it's about the thought making process, and hopefully you guys can learn a few things about playing on, of course, Mountain Pass. Now, early on we try and take the position known as H3. I'm sure many of you know about this position, and it's usually to get some early game shots on people that cross the bridge. So getting up into this spot right here by this rock allows you to avoid some shells from people over here. And if you can get up here early, if you're in a fast tank, then you're going to be able to farm up some opponents. As you see, things like the guard, if I was in a slightly faster tank, we may have been able to farm him. But nonetheless, we find ourselves up against the Object 283, which... yeah, we managed to pump with 713 damage done. So really nice early game damage that you can take advantage of yourself. And it's a really easy position to use. There is a couple of things that you do have to be slightly wary of, and that is if there is a super aggressive tank that pushes up into this area, and as you kind of come in to get here, you can be farmed. Now, within this game, we have pretty much a top tier tank, so of course there's 4 vehicles, well 4 tier 9s in the game, as well as a decent chunk of tier 8s, the rest of them being tier 8, so there is no tier 7s within this replay. But what I find to be really important about playing on Mountain Pass is not to overexpose yourself to any real opponent. And at the beginning of the game, it may feel like it's a little bit slow, and the difference, I guess, between having like these really good games and having games where you feel maybe you've lost out on a bit of damage and stuff like that is your decision making. And that's why this video is as it's titled, because the key thing is that it's not necessarily about just kind of being the best at aiming or anything like that within World of Tanks, because even players like myself that maybe aren't the pinnacle of being able to you know, carry games can still carry games if you think about it logically, and that's exactly what we did towards the end of this battle. But the Skoda T50 is a quick little rundown. Well, you've got a 3-shot autoloader that has 320 alpha, which means you've got 960 total damage you can deal in one singular clip. And that's really important, because you need to know about your own tank. And yeah, I know that that's one of the most bog standard things that I'm sure you guys know about, but a lot of people forget about this in the game, and like, they end up trying to do things that the tank is just not well suited to, and that's not really an ideal scenario. Now, you're seeing here the STA-1 for some reason deciding he's going to YOLO, and we managed to pick him up with a nice little snap into him. So really good to start taking out some of the tanks on the enemy team, because we're going to need that as the game develops and you find yourself in a place where maybe the enemy team have started to pump your team, and you really do have to start doing something to really come away with any damage or even just a win. So this position, you can see the enemy team haven't really pushed from behind me. I'm a little bit wary as to what they're going to be doing from behind, so, you know, just keeping an eye out is something that you should always do. And of course, keeping your eye on the mini-map, since it's one of the most crucial things within World of Tanks. So I really do enjoy this sort of playstyle, you know, where you have your autoloader, quick firing, you have the mobility and everything. And at this point I'm thinking, you know what, I don't really want to risk anyone coming and YOLOing me from the left hand side, because there is a Progetto 54, there's an M41D, there's also an SU-130 PM who could come up. But one thing that you'll see here is maybe a little bit of an overpeak to try and get rid of this Object 283, so we pull back and then we avoid taking any shells. Now, you could potentially get blind fired by the SU-130 PM, who may well just be up in the bush, and there are a few tank destroyers on the enemy team, so I didn't want to kind of overpeak. So in doing that, we actually fire 2 rounds up into the SU-130 PM's direction, and fingers crossed we'll be able to actually take him out. But with that being said, we now are in a bit of a pickle because we're down 2,000 damage within the game, which isn't massive, but it starts to kind of compound as our team start YOLOing in. Now we've got an STA1 who appears like he's trying to spot for us, which is nice, but with what, like 5 tanks in front of him, it could be any moment where they all start to YOLO into him. But a UDES on the enemy team trying to push out and do something, but it's probably not the best idea for him to push out. So, you know, in sort of games like this, I could quite easily push down with the STA and stuff like that, but there's no real point, and I have no idea if anyone's going to come from behind them and get up into the spot above, which then you can get shots into them from like this area over here where we were at the beginning of the game, because that is what typically will happen with some players. But either way, we start blind firing the bush, and we managed to actually take out the SU-130PM. That's why you don't stay in the same position for the entire game. But either way, the Rheinmetall Borsig on the enemy team is a tank we want to avoid getting hit by. We have no idea if he's got the 15, and so we need to be very mindful of him. Now, I'm pretty healthy at this point, but as soon as I decide to actually push down, then someone finally gets spotted, which is the UDES 14-5, and this is where the decision making changes. So instantly I'm thinking, you know what, this could be awful, like actually awful. If I let this UDES just kind of YOLO in and do something from up there, then he's going to be able to farm the 704, the STA1, and you're starting to see it instantly already. So instead of letting that happen, I actually move up from behind it. It's time to use my hit point advantage. A lot of people might have tried to stay in the bottom and be able to take him out, but we decide not to do that. And it's time to go after the M41D. Now, you're seeing here a nice little shell. I wait to make sure we actually hit him. Unfortunately, I couldn't manage to get the ram, which was something I really wanted to do. We do manage to hit him there with a ram slightly afterwards. And now it's the not fun process of being trying to get kind of outflanked by an M41D. Now, it's probably not going to happen because of the reload of this tank is not awful, and that allows us to pick up the M41D. So nothing really spectacular in this game so far. So, you know, most people would be thinking, you know, 2,000 damage, it's probably not that great. We have no idea how much we did to the SU-130PM though, so we might have picked up some blind damage as well. But I'm thinking, you know, this is not a good scenario. We're down 3,300 hit points, and so at the end of the game you've got to play it really, really carefully to make sure that whatever you do is going to be beneficial for your team. So I decide it's time to push down. I was thinking if we can maybe come up from behind the Progetto 54 and help out this SU. Unfortunately, the SU gets taken out, and then I'm starting to think, oh, this is not good whatsoever. And this is something that you can do in your own games, is evaluate, hang on a minute, if someone spots me or if someone finds me, I'm going to have to deal with not only one tank, but 4 of them potentially. We have no idea where the 50 TP is. He's probably down with the T95 and the Vipera, who we spotted. And so, yeah, we're not going to try and take him out at this point. So I try and ping to the Borsig to actually follow me, but he gets the memo anyway. And so we're going to try and defend from the hill. And the hill on this map is one of the really easy defendable positions when you know what you're using, and you know kind of where the opponents are going to come from, and it also allows you to kind of position yourself so that you can spot for your team. With 2 tank destroyers on my team, I'm thinking if they can get into a nice little position in the bushes back here, same with the Scorpion up here, they're going to be able to farm anyone that maybe pushes down. So where the Progetto and the Borsig were, where they push down into our base from where we've just come from, as well as then being able to deal some damage against things like the T95, the 50 TP, who are progressing from the eastern side of the map through this valley. Getting into this spot is really, really good, and you've probably seen this spot in many games, but in something like an autoloader, this is like super dangerous. Now, You're seeing me here just trying to get a shot into the T95. I couldn't quite do it. I mean, we can, but it wasn't the best of aim with the first shells. But that doesn't matter a whole lot, and I'm not going to faff around trying to get the third shot in. A lot of people would have stayed there, maybe tried to get the shell in. But when you're in this kind of clutch scenario at the end of the game, you don't want to be risking any of your hit points, which could get you taken out later on. So, not the best of exchanges between the T95 and the 50 TP, but with the Vipera now pushing quite aggressively and the Borsig literally in the bushes just being an absolute monster, and he really helped me out. Like, without the Borsig, this game would not have been possible. The Vipera is out in the open, so we decide, you know what, time to get rid of him. Like, we really do need to get rid of him, and so we pump him with the 3 shells, knowing exactly that if we pen all 3 shells, we're going to be able to take him out. And now we go back up the hill, because why would you, if it ain't broke, then don't try and fix it. And so, yeah, up into this position over here. And we're going to try and get some shots into the T95 and the 50 TP. There is one really nice place, which is this little dip here, this divot. And you can get into it, you can avoid taking any shells, and you see us actually load 2 rounds into the T95 and finish him off, which is superb. But I'm also very wary that there is going to be a Progetto and a Borsig coming from the other side, so I don't want to kind of overestimate or overextend myself onto one flank and then end up getting farmed from the other one. So we've just got to think about it when deciding what we need to do. But this dip or divot here is really, really good because often the 50 TP, things like the T95, they push up way too far, and you can get up here and start farming them from above, and it's really hard for people to get the elevation on their tank to be able to shoot you. And with the Scorpion and the Borsig both sat in where they are, then we can definitely be able to get some cover as well. If they decide to kind of push themselves up against the rock or start looking at me, they're going to get farmed from the other side. Now, luckily for me, the Progetto 54 does indeed get spotted, and then he's finished off swiftly by the Borsig, so really, really nice to see. But we picked up 7 kills within this game, which may not seem like I've done all too much, but the 7 kills started to really come out of nowhere, and I was really surprised that we did actually manage to do that. Because of the fact, like, you know, we were down like 3,000 hit points, and we've clawed it back actually against the opponents. We've now got the 1,000 hit point advantage, and so the enemy team are easily one clippable or one shottable now, really, both of them. With the 50 TP still down here, we need to get rid of him, and then we need to deal with a Borsig. So yeah, it's kind of one of those positions where you don't want to kind of extend yourself. I have no idea if the Borsig's got the 15 centimeter, which is going to deal 750 to me, so I don't really want to get and test it. Instead, I decide to push down into this spot. We can get a nice shell into the 50 TP. We hit his roof, lovely shot, easy taking out the 50 TP. And now it's just one Borsig on the enemy team. So as we did with the Vipera, and as we did with the Progetto, we're just going to try and spot this left-hand side. And I have no idea whether or not he's going to be over here, but I would presume that, given the fact that the other 2 of them and they were together earlier, you know, it's a good opportunity or a good possibility that he's going to be over here. So he does indeed actually get spotted, and so I'm thinking, oh the Borsig spotted, let me take him out. And there you go, the 9th kill of the game. I didn't even realise that I'd picked up this until afterwards. And with 9 kills under the belt, we could have really done with finishing off the Progetto for the Pools medal, but it doesn't really matter. And I thought that this really showed you that just thinking about it logically and making the right decision can be the difference between, you know, coming out with 2,000 damage where we were initially and coming away with over 4,000. But let's have a look at the post-game stats and showcase a little bit more. So, the post-game result screen here, we managed to pick up, of course, the Radley Walters medal, the Top Gun, the High Caliber. We also got a Mastery badge. We managed to pick up 4,613 damage. We managed to hit the SU-130 blind, which was nice, for a total of 100 damage. We hit the Borsig, by the looks of it, 2 times, so we must have hit him blind up in the spot at the beginning. which was nice. And yeah, a really nice result, picking up 1400 base experience, 9 kills, just one off of the pools medal. It would have been nice to finish off the Progetto, but it doesn't matter a whole lot, as we did really enjoy this, and hopefully it's given you an idea as to how you can kind of change your own gameplay in results to come out with this sort of result, rather than one maybe where you got taken out with half of the damage that we managed to pull off. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget that you can check out some of the other content on the channel. If you enjoyed this one and you want to see some more, then I highly recommend you check out the gameplay and tank reviews playlist that we've got going on. And hopefully you'll join me back in another video as a subscriber. I'll see you there. Goodbye.